All right. The setting of these devices, what do you guys call these?
Just or slitters.
Right. Some people call them RD scores or underscores, or even though they don't just score, they cut, perf wheels, slitters, whatever you want to call this. What do you call it?
Slitter wheels, slitters.
I like slitter wheel. Okay,
yeah, we're gonna call it folder terminology, really.
Yeah, we're gonna call it slitter wheel. Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys had these things backed off from here or anything like this, but I see a disparity in the pressure of the springs. That's already telling me something. But let's forget about that, and let's just talk about how we might set this in a way that is teachable, predictable, makes sense, and is something that and puts the minimum amount of stress on the spring and everything. Okay. Now, this device here just clamps to this bar, okay? Unlike this one here, which is keyed into a groove back here, this is not keyed. So the way it's secured to this shaft is just by clamping down here, and it just wedges it and holds it in place. That's fine, okay? That's going to be part of our adjustment. It's going to be we're going to adjust this thing this way by having this loose to make our coarse adjustment, and then our fine adjustment is done with this, okay? But what happens, the challenge that you're faced with when you're trying to set this is, you know, what's a good starting point and all that, you know, so I can get the right pressure. All right, when the guys designed these things, they designed them so that, given the blade and all of that, this spring would apply the an appropriate amount of tension downwards like that for cutting, okay? Now what happens is, sometimes we put too much pressure on that spring, okay? And that creates shortened life and everything like that, and we don't even know we're doing it, and it can, you know, score here. You always want the least that'll do for wear purposes and all that kind of stuff like that, right? So how do we set it?
That may be a good bit sharper than the one that's actually there too.
Yeah. Now, there's no big secret or anything to how you put this on, so I'm not going to explain that. It's pretty straightforward, right? So now, I'm going to swing this up here, just so I can look at this, okay? First thing I'm going to back the spring out all the way, okay?
But that is backing it up, giving it more pressure?
No, in this case, backing it up gives it less pressure, because this screw applies downward pressure to the spring, okay? Let's have another look at this thing. All right. You can see right there, you just have that spring, and the screw is not going into this part here, you see? It's free to move. So you just have a spring. Now, rule number one, yes, going down on that will increase, you know, will squeeze the spring, applying more tension to this, okay? But if you compress it all the way, you start to get that where the coils slip from each other, and obviously you're taxing this too much. So we want to have the minimum amount of downward pressure on that spring. Now I backed it out till I feel that it's free. I'm just going to go in till I present it and just touch that spring. Now that's my starting point for now, okay? This part back here, I'm glad you asked, because that's our coarsest adjustment is going to be to position this roughly. Our secondary adjustment is going to be to position this, and our final adjustment will be the spring tension. The spring tension should never be used to bring it to proximity. It's only for tension. What is actually bringing it into proximity to the roller, you know, touching it or away from it, is this right here. So you're going to want to pay careful attention to what happens to this mechanism in the setting up process, because what we're going to do is we're going to back this out to the touches, right? Now, when you touch it here, now we have one thing. We have a reference point to start from in our adjustment, okay? Now, when it's in this position, it's the maximum amount of the way that it can go down. No matter what we do, if this is locked in place, we can't make this mechanism go down anymore because it'll bump up here, okay? But we're going to use this understanding to our advantage, okay? So I'm going to set it up and say how I do it. We'll see if it makes sense. So now I'm just going to, slightly snug this so I can move this around. Okay, now, this wheel is as far forward as it can go. I'm going to allow it to touch the anvil. Snug this and check that. And now it's touching. I'm not tightening it yet, okay? That's as far as it can go that way, right? Now, I'm touching, now I've just presented this screw to that mechanism down there. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make a little reference mark here, just with a little piece of tape or something. Can you give me a little piece of paper tape, please? Thanks. All right. I'm just going to put a little tag right here. That point is going straight forward. All right? Now, I'm going to rotate it one turn that way. Okay? You see how much it raised it?
No. I didn't see how much it raised it at that
Okay,
point.
well, look,
Okay,
it's however much it's off that, right? It's not touching.
Okay.
Let's go another turn. All right? Now, we don't have to do this. Watch this. We'll go back one turn, back another turn. Okay, now it's stopped again, right? I'm going to go up one turn.
Okay.
Now I'm going to bring this down.
It's pretty low down.
Right? Now I tighten this down. What does that mean? This is what I've done. That blade can only travel one turn's worth from this point. That's it. So I've guaranteed that it's got enough travel, but I don't need it to travel more than one turn's worth beyond that point. Now I have all the adjustment I want in the up direction to clear it. All right? Now, so now we have that, right? So now the substrate will come under that, we'll back it up, substrate will come under that, and we're going to start to cut, right? In the rough position. We can allow this to go all the way down, right? And turn it back a little bit so it doesn't loosen. And it might be an idea to get a little something, a lot of lock there, because they don't have it set up that way, but I would suggest you start with this way, okay?
We got some ideas.
All right. Now, Danny, you understand that. So now we've limited the travel to one turn beyond this point. That's all we need. We got maximum travel upwards if we need it, okay? Now, we present this and we have no spring tension.
So we have maximum going down.
We have, and we have the minimum to start with. What you want to do is the minimum amount of pressure to do the job. Maybe this blade is real sharp, and you can start off with just the original spring tension that's here without any compression, and it's enough to cut. But over time, as this wheel becomes dull, then is when you start to use this as a method of compression. Okay? And again, always the least amount it takes to do the job. But with this, you have to be careful that it does the job. Okay? Because you're going to be sensitive. And it makes sense that this way, you're going to have the maximum amount of wear from this thing. You're going to have the travel that you need. You're going to have the contact that you need. You agree with that? Yep. Now let's say that one turn, for whatever reason, when I leave here, it doesn't work. Do two turns. But you understand the principle involved. Like you said,